Now, why this is sweeting me, or why this thing is making me happy, is because this man think he was literally coming to attack Black Americans through another means of saying, oh, it's actually a joke. It's actually a joke. Now, his own community, his own Asian community, came for him with full force. They came for him with their full chest. They said, listen, do not make Black Americans to hate us because of you. We don't have any business with you. If you know you want to do all those your silly jokes and later on you come back and make it look like we're hailing you, take it to another level. Do not involve us. Black Americans, we are on our own. It's not our business. This man is just doing his own thing. And I'm happy. I'm excited. Recall that I have literally brought this particular man's video where he literally talked down on Black America. I would say he talked down. I don't care how everybody wants to see it, right? He talked down on Black Americans by saying a lot of nonsense, blah, blah, blah. Now that his people are coming for him, I've been searching for him online. I'm not seeing him. Does that mean he's running? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. And credit belongs to original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. With that being said, let's dive right into this video. I'll be back with commentaries. For disclaimers, this is just for educational purposes. Let's go watch.
My only problem with ICE is that they're going after every minority group except Black people. I mean, you're trying to reduce crime. You just give them more room to breathe.
If you're Asian American, the only valid reaction you should have to that video is disgust and, frankly, embarrassment. And now, when Asian communities are under attack, the fact that we're still throwing the Black community under the bus shows how desperate some of us are to cling to this proximity to whiteness as our saving grace, as if that is going to keep us safe and protect our families when it never has before. A lot of us talk about how Asian discrimination and racism is downplayed, but it shouldn't come as a surprise when so many of us are so quick to disavow any solidarity with other communities of color. If you are part of an immigrant family, I know you know how rampant anti-Blackness is in our world, and to see it perpetuated in the name of humor and an unfunny joke is embarrassing.
Kim, you can suck it. I'm gonna be an unfiltered bitch for a second. I am so tired of the men in my community. Racism I've seen from Asians, the racism I've seen from East Asians, the racism I've seen from East Asian men is enough to send me into a psychosis. I do believe in putting down men like the wild dogs they are, especially when they're from my community, because they are so insufferably embarrassing. Like, I'd rather never experience an orgasm again than breathe the same air as these fucking peons. That was more than 1 second. Before we continue today's episode, I want to emphasize that if I say anything emasculating, it is not because they are Asian. It is because no one is exempt from small dick energy behavior. That also being said, I feel like the Asian community thinks I've had my foot on too many other Asian people's necks for negative reasons, so I will shout out 3 Asian men that I do love. That's Andy, Oppa, and Nathan. Love them. Everything I have found out about Hans Kim has been against my will, but on sight, I knew that man was Korean. A lot of people have been asking me to speak up about Hans Kim and add nuance to this conversation, but genuinely, I don't think there's any nuance to be had. He is plain, dry, and simple a racist to his core. That line, "give them more room to breathe," made my skin crawl. And all that word vomit about ICE and Black people and Latin people, just like, it was performing assimilation in real time. The Black community has a saying for this called tap dancing. I don't want to use that because I feel like there's historical reference there. So I feel like for Asians, it's like, we're serving tea to them, like you're literally a master's lapdog. To be a raging bitch again, honestly, I am waiting for his generation to die out. Obviously not his whole generation. I'm talking about people like him, his type, and his generation to die out. Asian Americans have historically been racialized as emasculated in America under white supremacy, but some small dick lapdogs respond to that humiliation by trying to reclaim power and masculinity through proximity to power, through proximity to whiteness, and distancing themselves from Blackness. In racial triangulation, Asians are valorized in comparison comparison to black people, but still kept as foreign to white. Him being racist towards black and Latin and every other community actually is not subversive, is not funny, it's compliant and assimilatory, which is why it's so fucking cringe and embarrassing. Asian Americans are capable of solidarity, accountability. They are capable of complexity and critique. But some of these fucks just have to go. Some Asian Americans think I'm condescending, and well, guess what? Maybe you should feel shame and embarrassment for your actions and behaviors. I think at the start of any real solidarity work, there's going to be a baseline of shame and embarrassment that you have to go through, and you have to move through it. At the end of the day, Asian Americans don't look like this fuck. We're all adults. Go get your degree in architecture, smoke your fucking Newport, and build a bridge and get the fuck over it. Shame and humiliation won't kill you, but I will. Some of y'all stay humiliating us, and I'm gonna need something to change because I'm fucking tired. Like, I'm tired. But fuck. If I expanded your attention spans, please follow my Substack, subscribe to my YouTube, and find me on Instagram.
The Asian community is literally so anti-black, and it literally fucking pisses me off. Like, we are literally so uneducated, uninformed, just misinformed, everything about the black community, and it pisses me off. And like, it just boggles my mind how a lot of Asians see black people as beneath them. I shit you not, I literally saw someone on my story and I literally was so gagged. Like, I was like, are you serious right now? And I sent him a message, ask him if he's being serious about this. This guy is Bhutanese. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, but like, I guess he got like some kind of spray tan or whatever because he's doing some kind of stupid movie shoot or whatever. Roy posts on his story and says, because his skin is like 10 shades darker or something, he said, "Can I say the N-word now?" with a ninja emoji next to it. I slid up so fucking quick and I asked this man, are you fucking serious right now? And guess what? That man left me on red. Need I say again that he is not black? He is Bhutanese from Bhutan or whatever the fuck you pronounce it. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Quite honestly, like, the Asian community is literally so underhandedly racist to the black community, and it just, like, not to mention the black community is one of the most supportive of marginalized groups that has ever, like, uplifted the Asian community and actually put effort into supporting us. I'm probably gonna piss a lot of Asians off for saying that, but it's literally the truth, and I fucking see it for what it is.
With ICE is that they're going after every minority group except black people.
So that guy, Hans Kim, we started comedy over 12 years ago, and we both would go to Laughs Comedy Club, which used to be in Kirkland, but now is in Seattle. I think he might have had one more year under his belt. We weren't like friends or anything, but we saw each other in passing. He was nice enough to compliment me once and say I had great energy on stage, but we never did any shows together because obviously there was never going to be a show where we would have like the same audience. So I would only bump into him occasionally at like open mics, like very early on, because I stopped going to open mics because there was no point in doing open mics for me. Because on any given night, when you're testing your material, the audience you're going to get on a Tuesday night at an open mic is going to be like bros who they themselves are there to get their dicks up to see if they can go on stage. Anyways, I remember people like thinking he's like God because Joe Rogan liked him and had him on his show. And then he became a regular on Kill Tony. And in the Asian circle, it was very well known that he was the token Asian that Tony got because Tony wanted to clean up his image after being racist to another Asian comedian. Anyways, I just feel like in every sphere of my life, there are the Asians that I know, like even on this app and in comedy, that blew up because they pander to white people. And it was always irritating to see, right? But I always said to myself, I'd rather be a nobody than be a white people token. Because once you get spent, you are nothing but a disgrace to your own race. And I would rather my name never be known and be just content making coffee money doing what I love because I can sleep good at night knowing I didn't sell out and bring shame to my own people. I'm currently living the dream. And you know what? Being unknown and not making shitloads of money, but having peace of mind. I know it's not the thing our society promotes, but I'm telling you, living a good life that's good for the soul, that's my skincare routine because I don't even wash my face.
Creator on here talk about this guy.
The problem with ICE is that they're going after every minority group except black people.
He was basically saying that it's not worth calling out that kind of overt racism because he's not really representative of the Asian community as a whole, and it actually stokes tension between the black and Asian communities. I've seen in my own comments that this situation in particular has brought up a lot of feelings of frustration and anger and tension, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. This is valuable and important information that people are sharing with us, and we should be learning from it rather than trying to stifle it. We should be taking seriously the fact that there are hundreds of folks from the Black community in the comments of these videos saying that they're not surprised at all, that this validates their lived experience with the Asian community, and that this one racist person is not isolated, and that it is in fact in line with how they've experienced the world. We shouldn't discount those experiences or say that it's not worth it to bring those experiences to the forefront. If we're ever going to truly be in solidarity with other communities of color, we need to acknowledge how those communities have felt let down by us instead of ignoring it and hoping it'll just go away. We need to listen, we need to do the work, and we need to demonstrate that we understand that what we're trying to fight against is white supremacy and not each other.
Props out to this girl named Inuri Lee, I think. I saw her video, man. I like to highlight allies. There's a lot of non-black folks that are really spitting real spitting historical spitting respect that they should have for Black Americans especially.
I am so tired of the men in my community. Racism.
I'm loving this. That's the one thing about social media. It's not all bad. It depends on how you use it. It's like a hammer. You either use it to build or to kill. And I've noticed that, and I'm always trying my best to highlight people who are being allies and doing the real work, even though they may get death threats from their people or whatever. And the fact that this girl is really killing it on it. I love this video where she's talking about this guy named Kim. His last name is Kim.
Everything I have found out about Hans Kim has been against my will.
He's a comic. I know he's a Korean comic, and he does comedy with Tony Hinchcliffe and all them. And listen, I know Tony Hinchcliffe. I know him. I've done Kill Tony, and it is what it is. It's an insult show. I'm not no sensitive to no racial shit. As long as you craft a good racial joke, I laugh at all that shit. I don't give a I'm not some prissy. I don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Because I do racial shit. So everybody should be able to do racial shit, comedian, but be creative. Yo, my man, you need to update your racism, my man. You know, and she's explaining this like, you know, because Asian Americans, a lot of Asians, East Asians have so much racism in them.
Asian Americans have historically been racialized as emasculated in a
way. All you Asians come from Africa, all right? You know, the San people from South Africa, that's where you're related to. Those Africans that look Chinese, you're from there. So you being racist against black people is just stupid because you come from us. The Asiatic face is African. I'm just going to throw some anthropology in there. But I love what this girl is doing. She's breaking it down. So listen to what she's saying. She's calling this comic out.
In racial triangulation, Asians are valorized in comparison to black people, but still kept as foreign to white. Him being racist towards black and Latin and every other community actually is not subversive, is not funny, it's compliant and assimilatory, which is why it's so cringe and embarrassing.
Listen, he's probably doing it to get, you know, he's like a pick-me comic. He wants these white dudes to be like, yeah, that's funny, but it's like you got comedy from the 70s and 80s and shit. And I'm saying, I don't know if other black comics are down with me, but yo, Kim, why don't you say that shit around us? Say that same joke around us. See, you in the safety of those white dudes, but say that shit around us black comics. I guarantee you that'll be your last joke.
Asian Americans are capable of solidarity, accountability. They are capable of complexity and critique. But some of these, I think at the start of any real solidarity work, there's going to be a baseline of shame and embarrassment that you have to go through, and you have to move through it.
There's a lot of racism in comedy. I get it, but you still got to craft your shit properly and don't try to hide behind, oh, it's just comedy. We'll be more creative than that. Update your racism. You understand that? Update your racism. Then you got your own people calling you to out. Good job, Unuri Lee. I think it's a Unuri Lee, whatever it is. I got your back, and I appreciate that. And she said, let's bridge the gap. You know, come on, man. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow.
Please be patient with me because there's so much here. I think the quick answer is that Asian Americans are given white privilege, especially the Asian Americans who fit the model minority stereotype. The quid pro quo for receiving that privilege is upholding white supremacy culture, which means being anti-Black. I was talking with somebody last night who was pointing out that the Civil Rights Amendment was passed in 1964, But also in the 1960s, the United States opened the door to Asian immigration. So now you have an influx of racial minorities who knew nothing about the history of white violence against Black people, knew nothing about the Black civil rights movement. So they arrived with civil rights, not understanding how that came to be. And also, it effectively erased the United States' own anti-Asian history, because Asian Americans came in not necessarily knowing about the Chinese Exclusion Act or the internment of Japanese Americans in the United States during World War II. And I think that Asian Americans are used as a buffer between the Black community and the white community, because in the 1960s, there was almost a racial reckoning. The white power structure almost had to face accountability for the history of violence against Black people. But instead, Asian Americans were inserted and were pit against each other, so that we're always up against each other, and that basically like white supremacy escapes accountability. And the example that I think of that sort of started like the root of a lot of tension is Asian Americans were buying into the negative media stereotypes of Black people. And then in the events that led up to what became known as the LA riots, the LAPD kettled protests away from wealthy white neighborhoods and into Koreatown, and then they left. And we know how that played out. So again, the two communities being pitted against each other and away from the white power structure. And obviously the model minority myth is used to oppress the Black community. And there's so much here. I will be getting more into it, but I feel like that's the quickest answer that I can give that gets a little bit into the history. And I'm really curious to know what the Black community and Asian Americans feel about this. But please be patient with me. Thank you.
This thing called the Negro Building, which I think is horrible. Nowadays, we just call it a basketball court. You know? I have been buying a lot of things through Instagram ads. I bought that purple stuff that's supposed to make yellow teeth whiter. Yeah, I've been using it on my skin.
The Negro Building?
Yeah, it's a true thing. It's history, Jamar.
I love it. Why would you have to call out Jamar like that? He was just relaxing.
I was waiting for your lips to catch up to your words, so I...
Wearing what is that, Phoenix Suns?
Yes.
You like the Suns?
No.
Right. Neither does your father. You get it?
I got from this video, sometimes you look at how people treat other people, especially my people, and you ask yourself, what really went wrong? People that are supposed to be on your side, or people that are supposed to understand you better, right, will come out and make life even harder for you. You know why I decided to bring this video back? I have no idea, but I thought that enough of all this BS, because I call them bullshit, that every day we wake up, Black people wake up, they wake up to something really not nice. But I love the fact that their community are speaking out and calling him out on his BS, because on God, this is absolutely BS. This is not okay. Nobody should do something like this. Last I checked, I don't go around seeing Black people make insensitive jokes about you. But let me find where the joke is, because that joke is not even, I didn't see any joke there. A comedian is supposed to be very funny, but there was nothing funny about your video, nothing funny about you. So where was the laughter? The only thing some people look forward to is seeing something not kind happen to my people, when my people have been out there standing all out, being there for them and all that. Sincerely speaking, it's disgusting. It is not okay. So you guys should check your community out. Call your people back to order, because Guys, you guys need it. Call them all out on their BS. I love the fact that you guys are doing it. I mean, like, especially that girl that Godfrey gave a shout out to. Yeah, I am following her and she's doing a great job. When she sees something unkind, she calls it out and she says it the way it is. You guys can do it better. Black people do not trust most of you because of all the things you have done, and not until you guys prove that you can do better. I will draw the curtain here. Bye for now.
This and tell us what they be telling y'all at home that make y'all not like us so bad.
So you already know a lot of what my content covers, like racial triangulation, the model minority myth, Asian businesses in black neighborhoods, affirmative action, and so on. As for what I was told in the home behind closed doors when I was growing up, that's not the most fun trip down memory lane, but I always like to be honest about acknowledging anti-Blackness among Asian Americans, especially when the call was coming from my own house, so here we go. I first became aware of my mom's anti-Blackness when I started kindergarten, and it mostly centered around avoiding interactions with Black people and not allowing me to be exposed to anything that she considered Black culture. So if we were walking and she saw a Black person, she would pull me closer to her. If we were in the car in a parking lot and saw a Black person in the parking lot, she would make a point to lock the doors, and I wasn't allowed to listen to rap or Michael Jackson or Tina Turner. And she was hypocritical about that, because I wasn't allowed to listen to Cyndi Lauper or Madonna either. She would call it trash music and say that it was going to be a bad influence. But if it was a white artist, it was not racialized. It was only when it was Black artists that it was racialized. And another thing that I think is kind of typical is, as a musician, there were a lot of Black artists whom she respected and enjoyed, but she would always say that one Black artist is the exception, the rest are bad influences. When I went to school, if I came home and said I made a friend, her first question would be white or Black. And that drove me nuts, because in preschool, I dealt with a lot of bullying and discrimination because of being Asian, so it didn't make sense to me that she wanted me to turn around and do that very same thing to my Black classmates, whom she knew nothing about, on the basis of their skin color. And when I wouldn't stay away from my Black friends, she would resort to making up justifications as to why it was harmful for me. She would say they're going to hurt me and they're going to be a bad influence because they fight and they swear and they're not good students. And of course, none of that was true. And in my household, it was not physically or emotionally safe to voice your opinions, but about that I would, because it literally angered me. And then she would resort to physical violence. And that sealed the deal in my mind that prejudice is purely irrational, because none of her claims had any basis in reality, and that's why she had to resort to physical force. Unfortunately, I think that when parents resort to intimidation and violence to instill prejudice in their children, a lot of times it works. But I was very lucky, because the principal of my elementary school was a Black woman who implemented a program called Students Educating Each Other About Discrimination. And that wasn't centered on racial discrimination, it was about discrimination in general. But in that program, we learned to have discussions about discrimination and to identify it and disrupt it. Which at that age just means if you witness discrimination, say it's discrimination and articulate how you know that it's discrimination. So from learning that very powerful tool at school, I was able to identify that what my mom was doing at home was wrong. Additionally, the principal was a Black woman, so I had a Black woman in a position of leadership as a role model. And in my school district, she wasn't a token. They really valued Black leadership, from teachers to administration, guidance counselors, all the way up to superintendents. And so I was surrounded by Black role models who made me see that reality did not line up with what my mom was trying to teach me. The straw that broke the camel's back was sometime around the ages of between 7 and 9. I was planning a birthday party, and I told my mom that I want to invite my friend Keisha, which I knew was going to be an issue, but I thought I would try. And she said no, and I said, fine, then I don't want to have a birthday party, and she made me have the birthday party. So now that felt like that's not only cruel to me, but that's cruel to my friend Keisha, whom you don't even know because you refused to meet her. Shortly after that, we were walking in the mall, and my mom did this thing that she often did, which is she sees Black people minding their own business, and under her breath, she mumbles a derogatory term in Chinese for Black people. And I remember I pulled back on her hand and faced her, and I said, they are not doing anything. You don't know them. The next time you do that, I am going to go up to them, and I'm going to tell them what you said. And believe it or not, the fear of exposure by me actually made her tone it down, and she stopped doing that in public. Fortunately, my mom did not live and die that way. In later years, she came around to seeing and later openly admitting how wrong she was. In her older age, one of her best friends really was Black, and my mom admitted to her friend what her previous attitudes had been and why. And from those conversations, I was able to gain some insight as to what my mom's motivation was for her anti-Blackness. Because I think most people feel, since Asian Americans also are harmed by white supremacy, how does it make any sense for Asian Americans to be anti-Black? My mom spent most of her young life in Hong Kong when it was under British occupation, and then in the 1950s, she came to the United States when she was 16 years old. Generations before my mom, her family had been living in and doing business around Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Macau, which were French, British, and Portuguese occupied areas. So she was heavily indoctrinated into anti-Blackness in Hong Kong, where she had no exposure to Black people that would have shown her a different reality. And furthermore, what she was indoctrinated into is the idea that an Asian can elevate their status in white spaces by aligning with white supremacy, which includes aligning with anti-Blackness. So I think what my mom was doing with me is that from a young age, she saw that I was having a hard time as an Asian American assimilating. So she felt that if I associated with Black classmates, that would make assimilating into white spaces even harder. And she was concerned that associating with Black classmates would negatively impact my status in white spaces. Well, we all know with me that the outcome was I understand very clearly what spaces I want to be part of and what spaces I don't. So my mom was really proud that she was westernized. She was proud that she spoke English without an accent, that she was very well versed in European culture, and she actually looked down upon my dad for being what she called traditional and therefore backwards. Right, so where was my dad in all of this? My dad grew up in Taiwan, where he had no exposure to Black people, but he also had very little exposure to Western media. I think when he came to the United States, he was a bit uncertain around Black people because of the lack of familiarity and the slight media bias, but it only took a very little being around Black people to see that prejudice is irrational and that it serves a white supremacist agenda that he doesn't want to uphold. As I said before, in my household, it wasn't physically or emotionally safe to voice opinions that differed from my mom, so I do understand why my dad didn't speak up when my mom was being anti-Black. He had a hard enough time keeping my brother and I safe. However, what he would do is, when it was just my dad and I, he would make sure to teach me or give me resources about accurate Black history. So, for example, a lot of my mom's rhetoric surrounded musicians. So my dad would teach me about Berry Gordy, Chuck Berry, Marian Anderson, Jesse Norman. If the claim was that Black people don't value education, he would tell me about Black scholars, academics, and scientists, and so on. So that, in a nutshell, is what I was told at home behind closed doors when I was growing up.
That's all I got for this video, guys. And honestly, I'm gonna say kudos to all of those Asians that literally came out to speak out. Now let's break it down. I did a video about this man that was, I think, last 2 weeks. I think that was when the video circulated or something. I forgot, but I know I did a video about him where this man literally said it in form of joke that the only people that ICE is literally not pushing forward, the only people that ICE is actually not whooping their acts is Black people. And when you say Black people, it simply means it's talking about Black Americans. There is no how you're going to twist it that will make it look like it's not Black Americans that he's talking to. Literally, he feel like every single person is getting deported, every single race is getting deported. Why are Black Americans not getting deported? And another thing that actually came to my mind was him trying to call the attention of ICE agents that, oh, you people have not started doing your job with Black Americans, right? Because that was actually not a funny joke. That was not even a comedy at all. If that is what comedy look like, then I can't stoop so low to watch that comedy. I'm sorry. If that is what comedy is, I can't stoop so low because that was not funny. That was not funny. The main reason why we go for comedy shows to listen to comedy is because we want to enjoy every single breeze, every single laughter that comes with it. But you trying to use the situation of the country as a comedy skit, blah, 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 and you're standing on that stage holding mic and make it look like it makes sense. It didn't really make sense. It didn't really go well with a lot of Black folks, and of which a lot of Black Americans came out for him, bashed him off, and this is now Asian, his own community, coming out to be like, before you do that nonsense, don't rub us in. Like, just make sure you're doing it on your own end. Because at the end of the day, you can't tell us that Black Americans are literally your problem. Is there any reason why you should just keep quiet? Because, you know, a lot of these people think that proximity to whiteness is actually white. I keep saying it on my videos. We've seen a lot of proximity to whiteness that have flopped in different ways. We've seen a lot of proximity to whiteness that would think that it was going to end up in a certain way, and at the end of the day, we are getting another huge, annoying, disheartening, disgusting story. So it is not. Proximity to whiteness is not at all. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So I love the fact that they are speaking out. I can't lie. I love giving people I love to give people their flowers whenever I see something good. And these Asian men and women actually spoke sense into him. And I've been trying to look out for his videos and I'm not seeing. Maybe I was blocked. I don't know. Maybe I was blocked, or most of the Black community were blocked. I don't know. But let me know if you've seen his video, because I feel like after that particular thing actually circulated and there was a lot of controversy, he just relented in, I don't know, in his activities. And why this is not really funny is because this was not even the first time that this guy will literally joke with nonsense on stage, or just joke with nonsense on his video or on a podcast. Do you get? So not seeing him now, I don't know. I think he's running. I think he's running, because the only thing that he's supposed to do right now, if I were to be in his shoe, is to come and do a public apology. But you know, some of them, they have pride. They just want to tell you that there is nothing. They can't try that. Apologize for who? For Black Americans, to be precise. But you keep enjoying the faffle, because one thing with internet is internet never forgets. So instead of building your brand are just going to get rubbished at the end of the day. Do you get? So it means all the hard work, everything you've put into building your brand, just one singular act has literally destroyed it. And that is how social media works. But let me know what you think about this video. Credit belongs to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Do it, subscribe, like this video, drop me your comments, and lastly, do not forget to share for every other person to get this good news. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you, liking, commenting, sharing my videos, dropping super thanks, joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely, absolutely the best. If you haven't subscribed, please do what, subscribe. And thank you so much for staying stick and hook with me to the end of this video. For disclaimers, educational purposes only, not to come here ruffle on anyone's shoulder or defame anybody. And yes, with that being said, wait no further ado, for the last time, I do like I always say in my videos, because I've said it like more than 2-3 times. I'm going to be saying bye, and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys. Mwah.